Welcome back to the Acoustic Shop channel. Today we have something very special. I've got my good friend JP Cormier in here. We're going to be discussing the all new, coming out, this is pretty exciting stuff, buddy, the Alvarez Yairi JP Cormier model. It's going to be spectacular. Stick around.
It grows round my door, where the mountain meets the sky, and the white clouds fly.
Well, there you guys have it. I'm here today with my good buddy, JP. We're going to talk about this fabulous guitar. Before we do, though, please make sure to hit the like button and comment down below. If you guys are experiencing this channel for the first time, maybe you're doing it just because JP's here. JP, are you going to comment on this particular video?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to make fun of your beard.
You can do whatever you want. Anyway, I'm glad to have him in here. As always, there is a link to the performance down below. And also, we're going to have tone samples at the end of this. So we're going to discuss this brand new guitar and talk about why JPA has decided this is the guitar to build with Yairi. And yeah, it's going to be a whole bunch of fun. So yeah. So tell us what you got right here.
Well, I have the only existing, for now, the only existing JP Cormier signature model Alvarez Yairi. And St. Louis Music, Alvarez, and the folks at Connie, Japan, where Yairi is built, they've been with me for many years now. They reached out to me, I think, in the first year, and Chris Meikle, but he's the CEO. He lives over in London, England, and he contacted me and said, we really think we'd like to send you some guitars. And do you like Yairi? And I was like, are you kidding me? Like those guitars when I was a kid in the 70s, the S Yairis and K, and Sudeo and Kazuo, those guitars were like the holy grail. You just never saw them in stores. You occasionally saw them around at festivals. You saw them here and there, and it was just like you saw one and went, God, where do I even go to look at one, you know? And so he ended up sending me two of the Honduran mahogany guitars, a Dreadnought and an OM, and the performance. He says that's just a performance guitar, but the DY. The DY1 TS, I think it is. It's the one that's used by Joe Bonamassa, plays the OM version of it.
Oh.
It looks much like this, actually, only it's a Dreadnought. And it comes with a Baggs Anthem dual source system and all that stuff. So they sent me these guitars, and I was blown away, and I did a really long and cool video about the history of Yairi and how they started building classicals back, 90 years ago, and how it come through all the way today, where they have very similar shop to Hamamatsu with Yamaha in Japan there, and it's old school.
Yeah.
There's 100 people in there, about 18, 20 builders that work under a master, and they build some of the most unbelievable guitars, and sadly, we never see them over here because they're not allowed to come here. Because of wood moratoriums or because of whatever. And so me and Meikle really hit it off. Like, he's a really cool dude, good guitar player. And we just hit it off, and we started working together, and they signed me up to the Alvarez All-Stars program, where they paid me. I didn't want the money, but they're like, no, we want to pay you for this. So they paid me to do just video, just play one tune and send the footage over, then they would put the branding and it goes on. It was really fun, and I was in good company. Like that program is full of, like, some of my heroes are in that program, right?
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, Chris called me up one day and said, I think we need to make you a signature model guitar. And I said, okay, I'm not going to turn that down. What do you want to build? He said, what do you want? He said, because we can do anything you want. And I said, well, it would have to be something I don't have. And if I tell you what I want, you might think it's nuts. And he said, well, lay it on me. Give me a try, right? So I said, well, I want a full-size slope shoulder dreadnought out of that mahogany with a sunburst and a flat cutaway, 12 fret to body, slotted headstock. And he went, you're kidding me. I said, no. He said, we've never done this. I said, well, do it. And he said, we will. And I almost didn't believe it. Because it's like, to me, it's such the same thing as if Martin had done it for me, or Yamaha, or like these brands that I grew up with that meant so much to me. He finally calls me one day and he says, your guitar is on its way. And I said, what? This is about 6 months, all it took. He said, yeah, it's on its way. He said, I haven't even seen it or heard it. They shipped it right from Connie to you. I said, okay. And when I opened the box and got it and opened the box, it was just, blew my mind. And then when I played it, it blew my mind even worse. And I Skyped Chris and I said, wait till you see this guitar and hear it and everything. And I did the review on it right away. And the people just started ordering it. The first 2 days after I reviewed this, there was 24 people on my comments that wanted one. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it shocked all of them pretty bad.
Yeah.
Chris was like, what? I said, well, what did you expect? The guitar is awesome. Well, of course they're going to. So they scrambled now. Now they're scrambling to get them. And they're doing a great job of it too. They are going to have, supply by December.
Yep.
For all of North America.
So to fill in your side of that is the backside where we had just recently become Alvarez dealers and Yairi dealers and started working with those guys. And so me and you have had a relationship, and I'm like, I see this new guitar, and I talk to you about it, and then I call up my guy here in the States, and I said, hey, what about this guitar? And he goes, what guitar? What are you talking about? And he says, well, this has got released. And he's, let me find out what's going on. And he goes, hey, sounds like this is going to be a thing. And I said, you better believe it is. I guarantee you it's going to be, because if JP's out there talking about it, it's going to be a thing. So we ended up talking to him. And meanwhile, I talked to you the day after you, or maybe it was a few days after, we put you on our show because I had got the okay from Alvarez that it's going to be coming out. So we started taking pre-orders on it ourselves. In fact, of that first batch, I believe we have taken half of that here at the Acoustic Shop. So we're going to have quite a few of them in stock by the end of the year, and we've been selling them. So again, this is by the time you see this video, it may still have some available. I don't know. They will become more steady, I think, as this kind of rolls out. But this first batch that's coming into the U.S. is expected to land in December. So let's tell the folks what the guitar is. We got a slope shoulder dreadnought, 12 fret to body, so that makes it kind of unique right there. Mm-hmm. It is being a slope shoulder, it is a short scale. But it has this really amazing mahogany that is old
55
Honduran.
years.
They had found.
They found this after Kazuo passed away. There was a pallet of it in the parking lot that Chris Meikle found. And when he scraped it with his knife, he saw that it was mahogany. So it was sitting out in the lot there for 50 years.
Really?
And it's the best sounding mahogany I've ever heard.
It's really powerful stuff.
Yeah.
And it's going to be paired with an Adirondack spruce top, obviously the sunburst finish, cutaway, all the things that JP is known for: slotted peg head, ebony fretboard,
nut, everything, bone, nut, everything, bone, and this beautiful filigree abalone inlay, which I requested. I said, I'd be fine without it. And he said, no, let's put some on. I said, well, if you're going to put it on, make it real thin.
Real thin.
So it's very haunting. You're not even sure if it's there when you're looking at it, right?
Sure.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So I get fast forwarded again. Well, maybe this is pulled backwards. I don't know. Either way, we started getting in the Yairi stuff. And again, I had a different experience. And I'll be honest, I've done it with the channel before. I grew up with Alvarez being more of a beginner level brand. I didn't see much of the Yairi stuff, to be honest with you. And I didn't give it that much of a chance. Again, I think we're a little bit spoiled here in the States that we have so much access to so many amazing guitar brands. at just about every music store. We have lots of music stores here, lots of different guitars. So I kind of didn't pay much attention to it until this year at the NAMM show when they come up with the new Laureate series. And that kind of went, oh, I think this is a pretty good guitar. Then I go, well, if you like that, let's check out some of the Yairi stuff. And then we started talking about this series of mahogany guitars. I got in a DYM 60, which is similar mahogany guitar, Adirondack spruce top. It's the more square shoulder dread style. Incredible guitar. That guitar knocks me out. I really think it's one of the finest mahogany dreadnoughts there is anywhere. Now you come in with this one, and I'm like, again, totally unique tone palette here, because I think that's what you're bringing to, with all these various different models that you're bringing in, is going, all right, this is what I expect to see out of your brand or your style. Let's go further into something that's different, but yet can do all these different styles of music at the same time. And I think that's where you're bringing this to a lot of these manufacturers is, you, like we talked about with one of your other signature models, you have such a broad range of the styles of music that you play.
Yeah.
And you need to have something that can do all of it, but each one of them has to be different.
I always require, and it's been working out, like, because the builders, the companies that I'm working with, somebody asked me this morning, how many signature models do I have? And I think I've got about 6 on the go now. Each company has built me a guitar that they've never done before, and they've sold really well. And so how I look at this is when I design a guitar, I'm looking only for one thing. I'm looking for a Swiss Army knife, but it has to be built by Rolls-Royce. That's the deal, right? And all these companies are capable of that. Like this guitar is an everyman's guitar, but it does each level of that so high that because of who's building it.
Mm-hmm.
Same as Boucher, same as George Crackett, same as Gallagher. The strengths of those builders are apparent in their work all the time. And so when I talk to them about building something for me personally that I'm going to put my name on, I know exactly what to tell them, okay, because I love their instruments. And I go, okay, well, I want a cherry pick all the greatest things about what they do, and that's my guitar. And they all, and somehow, amazingly, they've never tried it before. It must, and I think players have a better sense about guitars than the builders do sometimes, because the builders get focused on perfection. And they never go, well, what if I nail this thing to that thing that's never been nailed together before, right? And
were you that guy when you were a kid? Were you just putting stuff together that you
yeah.
should have been putting together?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. me with a tube of Elmer's glue, boys, game over.
So what do you think this guitar brought to you personally that the other guitars so far have not done? Talk to me about Yairi. What was the thing that this guitar, when it landed, said, all right, you guys did this, this, and this? Because like you said, each brand has its thing that they do the best, and you put them all, what you thought was the best stuff for each one of them together. Tell me what this guitar brought that maybe some of the other ones didn't.
Some of the other Alvarez, you mean? Yaris,
Sure.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to say because, as you mentioned, their slope shoulder guitars are incredible. So, but what this particular guitar brings that even my favorite Yairis that I own, that I just treasure them, I'll never part with them. This one took the bottom end Steinway piano sonic to another level, because the bottom end of this guitar is like a grand piano, and it's worse, way worse than the other ones. Like, it's just got that, it's like an eternal growl.
Yeah.
And you barely have to touch it. And every note is thick.
It's fabulous. Like I said, there's
endless
just
sustain.
a lot of sustain.
And I love that.
And I think
fits
it's
my
balance
playing.
sustain. I think there's something
Yeah.
that also it's not like a massive overtones that are just just hammering all the way. But what I was surprised at when playing this guitar was it was a little more controlled. It had
Oh, yeah.
tons of sustain,
Yeah.
but it's almost like it was like I'm gonna cherry pick some of these frequencies and some of these frequencies and make these kind of meld together. So it's not just a roar of sustain, but it's more of a controlled sustain. So that's pretty impressive.
I always say about all these great builders, right? They all have one thing in common. They sound regal. It's the only way to describe it. It's like when you hit the guitar, it's like a king standing up from the throne. It's just that overarching thing that reaches the audience too. Like it mesmerizes people when a guitar can do that. That's why Martins were so great in the day that they commanded. You could hear them over a 4-piece bluegrass band, right?
Sure.
They had that ability in the old J45 and the J200. Those guitars had this. Just you heard it and you knew exactly who built it, right? But now there's so many companies, it's hard to do that anymore. But the trade-off is that these companies have brought the technical and scientific ability of building guitars to such a point that all these great builders are capable of achieving that sonic image. And this one does it. The Boucher does it, the Bedell does it, Mike Gallagher does it, and they all do it in different ways. But it's still that same. You hear that guitar, you hear the notes. It's like the trumpets blowing the king in. Like here comes the king, right? And it's a feeling almost as much as a sound. Mm-hmm. And I love that about this guitar, and it's a tremendous instrument. This thing absolutely is good for anything. You can play bluegrass on this, you can play Celtic, you can play fingerstyle, you can play jazz, swing. It's so versatile because it has so much control and sound pressure. When you play it, you hear the note shooting out about 18 inches and stopping right there and punching the guy in the face, right? Like it's just that kind of feeling, right? Like a great vintage guitar with a longer decay. You know what I mean? It's really difficult to get that.
Yep.
But they did it. They killed it.
They're very, very great guitar.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad to be having some of those come in. I'm glad to have you discussing it. Again, this was going to come in at a price tag of $37.99. We are taking pre-orders on these right now. So if you want to get on that first batch, make sure to give us a call and check those out. But overall, I'm glad you were able to kind of show it to me because I had heard what you had called me and talked to me about it. And it does live up to what you had told me, which is it just has its own character, and I find that awesome. I'm glad that you're out there kind of pushing these guys to do different styles of instruments than what they're ready to do. And so what we're going to do right now is get JP to play it for you, and then we will be back with a tone demo of this guitar. once again, glad to have you here, JP. Thanks for sharing the new model with us. Again, we're glad to have these guitars into the shop. Alvarez and Yairi both here. In fact, we did a video not too long ago called Alvarez versus the Laureate, Laureate versus Yairi. This is a link to it right here. You can check it out if you want to know more information about the difference between these two brands, what they do, and also, you know, we'll get into further into this guitar too later as we start to have them arrive. Thanks again, JP, for joining us. Again, check out his channel because this guy knows his stuff. And we'll catch you for the next video. Bye-bye.